How did I scale from $0 to $1 million, from 1 million to 5 million? And how can you do it faster? I'm Chris Cooper. Welcome to the Mentor Toolkit. And today I'm going to teach you the steps that I took to get Two Brain Business from $0 up to 5 million in about 4 years, 5 million annual revenue in about 4 years. There's really three big topics because the stages that you go through require different people, different systems, and different strategies. They also require different areas of your focus. So it takes different things to get you from 0 to 1 million than it does from 1 to 3 million. And again, different things, different people to get you from 3 to 5 million. We're going to go through these step by step. Here's an overview. From 0 to 1 million, you need to systemize and optimize your product and your niche. From 1 to 3, you need to expand your audience and systemize and optimize your marketing and your sales. From 3 to 5, you need to hire your way up. You need to systemize your incentives and your hiring, and you need to automate wherever you can. The key to all of this is that what got you to where you are now is probably not what you need to get you to the next level. And that's true for systems and product and people and audience. So let's start with 0 to 1 million. When I started Two Brain Business, I had 16 clients in the first couple of months. We were doing probably about $250,000 a year. And the problem was that I wasn't spending all my time coaching. I really wanted to work one-on-one with people, but I was spending a ton of my time on sales calls, and I was spending time shipping out t-shirts and coffee mugs and fresh coffee beans to people who signed up for the program. And I was teaching the same things over and over. And so the way that I scaled, and I learned this from my mentor at the time, Dan Martell, was to systemize my operations by hiring an operations manager. The first operations manager at Two Brain Business was named Joyce, and Joyce was from Philadelphia. Lovely woman, everybody loved her, and she took over my billing, my booking, answering client requests. She shipped out welcome gifts to people. She shipped out thank you cards. She set us up at our very first summit, which only had 16 attendees. And, Joyce was just that operator that allowed me to work more on coaching. The next thing that I did was systemize our product. Now, we're a one-on-one mentorship practice, and so it's impossible for us to just turn everything that we know into a course. I learned that the hard way by trying to do it and failing. But what I realized was that there were about 10 common lessons that I could teach people that would set them up for success. And I was teaching these same 10 lessons over and over. And if the people coming into my program, these gym owners, knew these 10 things, then I could multiply the value that I delivered to them later because I wouldn't have to spend time on calls explaining these 10 things before they could act on them. And so what I did was made a course of these first 10 lessons that I called the incubator. And when people started with our company, they would go through the incubator course and they would learn about client value and they would learn about the basics of retention. And then when we started our calls, they would have an amazing foundation of knowledge that we could just act on right away. And they would multiply the return that they got from our service over time. The last hire that we made right around the $1 million mark was to shore up my personal weakness. I'm a left brain thinker. And that means that I love data and I love facts and I love questioning people on what they say. And I love finding the truth in an ocean of ideas. And what I really needed, though, was somebody who thought more like my audience, somebody more right-brained who was empathetic, a great listener, who wasn't necessarily a subject matter expert. They were just a very caring, tactful communicator. And that was Eden. And so Eden became the right brain of Two Brain Business. And now she's the lead client success manager. So the three things that I had to do to get from 0 to $1 million was systemize my product. So I made the first 10 weeks into like a course, hire somebody to take on the operational tasks that were taking up most of my time, and then fill in the blank for shoring up my weakness, which is client communication, empathy, and tact. The second stage was from 1 to 3 million. And at this stage, what you really need to do is systemize and then optimize sales and marketing. So from 0 to 1, you're systemizing and optimizing your product. From 1 to 3, you're systemizing and optimizing your marketing and sales. And this started with a massive opportunity. I was working with a lot of CrossFit gyms at the time, and CrossFit was suddenly cutting out their media department, which seemed crazy to me. The original founder of CrossFit, when I was working for them, told me CrossFit is a media company. And so it didn't make sense that in 2018, they were cutting their media staff. But it was a great win for me. And so what I did was took a big risk, and I hired Mike Workington, who was the lead editor for the CrossFit Journal at the time. And I realized that Two Brain Business needed to become a better media company. I already understood from working for CrossFit that every company is a media company, and that ultimately the best media company was going to help the most people. And so I hired Mike Workington, and that helped produce better quality media consistently. And I didn't have to make all of it anymore because he was way better at it than I was. Sure, I was doing the talking and writing the blogs, but Mike made it good. And then around 2018, I had this conversation with John Franklin. John owned a few gyms that were in my program, and they were being very successful with Facebook ads. And John asked for a meeting, and we sat down. We were at the CrossFit Games, and we found this like unused meeting room, and we sat down, and he said, "Chris, how are things going?" And I said, "They're going great. Like, we're getting 30 gyms signing up a month. We're really changing their trajectory." And he said, "That's good, but there are other people out there who are maybe not helping gyms, but they are signing gyms up. They're offering a product that's not as good. They're charging way more. And unfortunately, it's harming some gyms. What are you going to do about that?" And I said, "Well, John, there's nothing I can do about it. Like, people choose these other companies over me, and I can't talk them out of it. I try to show value. I try to demonstrate what we're doing, and that they don't have to be slimy salespeople to succeed." And John said, "Chris, if they don't hear about you, you can't help them." And so what he proposed was starting a Facebook advertising campaign for Two Brain Business. I was really wary about it, honestly. I said, "Are you going to attract the wrong people or cold audiences that don't know?" And he said, "Let's just try it." And we started Facebook advertising, and combined with an improved media presence, what we were able to do was produce way more helpful information and reach way more people with it. And so our email list grew from 7,000 or 8,000 daily readers to about 30,000. And we started helping more people, and we would get feedback from people who had never heard of us saying, "We can't believe this." And over time, we've just optimized that process. And so that got us up to about $3 million in recurring revenue by focusing on first systemizing our marketing through John, and systemizing our media through Mike, and then optimizing both, constantly tracking what's working, where can we invest more, where can we cut back a little bit, what media is most helpful to us, what media is most helpful to our audience. That was Mike's job. And then constantly delivering and refining and refining. So systemizing is part of it. And that means like hiring the right people to create the systems, but optimizing, in my perspective, is even more important. And if you're starting out like this, if you're trying to get from 1 million to 3 million, focus on optimizing your marketing and your media. If you don't have a system for marketing and media, build that first, but build in an audit cycle so that you can constantly make it better and better. And then finally, from 3 to 5 million, what you have to do is systemize staff incentives and systemize your hiring. You can automate stuff wherever possible, but first I want to talk about this. Our first CFO was named Greg Crabtree. We hired Greg when we were doing around $3 million. And he wrote in his book, Simple Numbers, about this gap in every business called the valley of death. And the valley of death is when you need to hire people that are more expensive because they're specialists. They're better at their job than you are. And so you're hiring ahead of revenue. So for example, for the first time, you're hiring people who don't drive more money indirectly. Like you might hire a real COO or a real CFO like Greg. But you have to hire to get through that valley of death really, really quickly, or you won't grow. In some ways, you're actually acquiring growth by buying talent. Now, you don't really have to do this until you're at about the $3 million mark. So we hired Greg as a CFO. The next thing that we did was we started training our mentors better. So we systemized our hiring by having a better process for identifying great mentors and then training them. And then we optimized that process based on the results that the mentors were getting for their clients. So we set up a mentor scorecard based on client results, and we said, who is getting the best results and how are they doing it? To do that, we had to track client data better. And so we built an app where clients would put in their numbers every month, and we would look at them and we'd compare them to which mentor they were working with and seeing who got the best results. So we were looking at results like revenue growth, client retention, but we were also looking at internal metrics like which mentors are keeping clients the longest by demonstrating the greatest value, which mentors are ascending clients fastest to new levels, etc. So the point here is that you have to systemize and optimize your people to get from $3 to $5 million. And that's how you basically acquire growth. So there's 3 levels to this. In level 1, where you're going from 0 to $1 million, you need to systemize and then optimize your product. You need to be focused only on your product. From 1 to 3 million, you really need to systemize and then optimize your media and your marketing. And from 3 to 5 million, you need to systemize and optimize staff acquisition and retention and results. And that's how you scale. But if you screw up a level, you're going to fall back to that level. So if you're under $1 million and you're setting up like your staff training portal so that you can hire 30 staff, you're going to mess up because your program or your product isn't optimized yet. And so you'll train your staff and then your program isn't getting any results. So you got to go back and fix your program, and then you got to retrain your staff again. You always fall to the level where you're weakest. And if you've got like amazing marketing, but you don't have an amazing product, your retention is going to suck. I talk to business coaches and I talk to fitness coaches and accountants all the time who keep saying, oh, we've got this crazy churn, we need more marketing. The reality is that their product isn't getting anybody results. And so they have to fix that first. If your company is under $1 million, you should be constantly focused on making your product better and better and getting your clients better results. Okay. So here's the action that I want you to take. Nail your operations, measure the results that your clients are getting, and constantly seek to improve those results. Okay. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt exactly the ROI that people get on our program. So at twobrainbusiness.com, the average ROI on our ramp up program, which is just this like 12-week sprint, it's a 101 version of what we teach. The ROI on that is still 2.3x, like 2.5 times your money back. Once people get into our growth program, which is where they really start turning the flywheel and getting compounding results, the average 3-month ROI on that is 11x, right? You put in $1 and 3 months later, you've got $11 back. That happens because we systemized and optimized delivery. Then after you've optimized your delivery, then you focus on your marketing. And so over time, starting around the $3 million mark, we started looking at like, where are we spending our money? What's producing? What's actually getting people onto our content? Which content is turning them into customers, and which customers are sticking around the longest? And that's a constant optimization cycle. Yet we had to do the same with sales. So at a certain level, you have to systemize your sales process and optimize it so that you, the founder, aren't doing all of your sales anymore, but anybody can. And then finally, after the $5 million mark, you have to systemize and optimize team acquisition. You have to basically set up a funnel to find the best people, filter for the very best people, train them as best you can, and then keep them forever. So I hope this helps. You need different things at different levels of growth in your business, and hopefully you can identify exactly where you are through your revenue and figure out exactly what you need to fix from there.